the morning skate, if it's an hour, if it's an hour and 5 minutes, if it's 55 minutes, I mean, that's something that the players are going to be fully enthusiastic about, especially today.
Absolutely. As you see, we are still waiting for Sheldon Keefe to address the media. As soon as he gets to the stand, we will take you right there. As you mentioned, you know, he did take a lot of time on the ice. Mark Masters is in Arizona. Following that, he did feed us some information saying there's a lot of teaching going on, a longer morning skate than usual. How quickly do you expect to see these changes take place and for the players to really adapt to them, Craig?
Okay, Tessa, you've been a player, very successful player. You're a smart player. How long did it take you to adapt?
Not long.
What?
It's hockey, you get it.
If you wanted to shift between one shift to a next shift, you go.
Correct.
These players are all smart. So what you're going to ask them to do differently, I think they can adapt. Now, as a unit, and we talk about the collaboration collectively, that takes a little bit more time. So I'm looking for two immediate things from Sheldon Keefe going into this game. He can't fix everything. Number one, and I think the most important thing, is the penalty kill, and that extends to the discipline in the defensive zone. They chased mindlessly. There was a lot of mindless pressure. And then offensively, in the offensive zone, there's going to be 5 people in the attack that are going to be involved, and they're not going to be worried about how much time we have the puck on our sticks in the offensive zone. How many quality chances are we getting? Are we getting to the high danger areas? Because that's what you got to do. It's not how long you hold the puck in the offensive zone. It's all about quality chances. Barry Trotz nailed it. You want to stay outside the danger area? Stand there. We don't care.
Right.
When you come in here and you threaten us, then we'll start paying attention to you. Sheldon Keefe will make opponents to pay attention to them inside what I call the heart of the matter.
Well, and how's he going to make opponents pay attention? What he's going to do, at least in my understanding, as I've sort of gotten the Sheldon Keefe download in these last 18 hours, is he's going to use what he has at his disposal to unleash these players. I was just got off the phone with Tony DeAngelo, the New York Rangers defenseman, who spent a little bit of time with Sheldon Keefe in the Sault Ste. Marie. And so one of the things he said is he plays to your strength. He finds out what you're good at, and he sends you out and to go do it. And so for Tony DeAngelo, an offensive defenseman, it was real easy to say, hey, look, don't worry about your mistakes.
Right.
Just go out there and play. The good will certainly outweigh the bad. And so to him, that message, it really hit home. And he said he really enjoyed playing with him for that reason. And so now that he brings this group in and he sees, he's been watching, I'm sure, a lot of Maple Leafs games over the last little bit here that he's been with the Toronto Marlies. He understands what makes this team tick, what they're good at, the firepower that they have and that he has at his disposal. Now, how can he go out and just let them go do their thing?
Well, and Tessa, I'll come back to you, too, because, you know, when a coach asks you to do something, you do it.
Right.
And even if you know that maybe it doesn't play to your strengths, you still don't you?
Especially a brand new coach. I mean, you got to get in the good
But even
books
an
right
old
away,
coach,
right?
yeah, but I'm not even talking about the new coach. I'm just saying in the old style, right? So even though, you know, we can talk about how they played, they were, like everybody says, the players were doing exactly what Mike Babcock asked them to do.
Right.
And it wasn't producing results, right? So now you look, and Morgan Rielly to me has become a real, to me, image in my mind of what was wrong. Mike wanted them to put pressure on, and you'd see Morgan take a step forward and then step back, and he ended up in between. What's the worst place for a defenseman to be?
In between.
And I think that's where they were fine, because they knew that it wasn't going to produce results,
right,
but they knew they had to do it, but they were hesitant, and I think that was creeping into their game in a significant way.
Well, and the other thing is how, you know, you speak offensively, how do you put guys in a position to succeed and get the most out of them? Kyle Dubas was talking a lot this morning about maximizing potential. Well, one of the first changes we've seen Sheldon Keefe make today at the morning skate is to put a guy like Tyson Barrie on the first power play unit. Makes a ton of sense to me. It was one of those things we were looking at. What do you want to see from the Toronto Maple Leafs moving forward? How do you find a way to engage Tyson Barrie? How do you get him back on track? He's been in no man's land to start this season, and this is a guy that's a 57, 59, 60-point defenseman consistently throughout his entire career. How do you unleash the best from Tyson Barrie and squeeze the most out of him that you can? And so that's the process that this team's going to go through. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't work. Maybe you want to go back to having another forward on the power play instead of 2 defensemen. But for right now, it's worth a try to see how it looks and how Tyson Barrie could somehow find a way to get energized.
We just had his numbers up there. Sheldon Keefe's a successful coach at every level. Now, everyone, I've heard a lot of people say yesterday, you know, well, you got to take the Marlies record with a grain of salt because they do have, you know, an inflated salary. Nonetheless, I don't care. When you have those players on your team, you have a very talented list of great players. You still have to be able to find a way to put the equation together and make it work. And it seems like that he's been doing that at every level, Craig. So what is special about this?
Cheers to you, Tessa, for recognizing. bottom line, you can have all the money in the world. A lot of teams have lots of money and they still don't win. Right? So Sheldon, I've watched Sheldon coach since he was in Pembroke in the Central Junior Hockey League, and he's had success there. Then he goes to Sault Ste. Marie and he has success there. Okay, now Pembroke didn't have a lot of money.
Right.
Sault Ste. Marie was a small market team. I know, but Sault Ste. Marie, I mean, he won a national championship with Pembroke in the Junior A championship. Then he goes to Sault Ste. Marie, and they have their own challenges, and he's successful there. Then he comes to the Marlies, and they have success. Every situation is different. Sheldon Keefe has proven, beyond a shadow of doubt, that he is a very good coach and more than deserving of being at the NHL level. And everybody wants to tell me about lack of experience this and lack of experience this. You know how many games Scotty Bowman started with when he began his NHL career? Zero. Yeah. Joel Quenneville, 0. Al Arbor, 0. Every single one of them.
Got to start somewhere.
You do, and your opportunity comes in different ways, in different shapes, and different forms. Do I think that Sheldon Keefe can come in here and make some material differences to how the team plays and affect positive results? Absolutely.
Would you label him a player's coach then? Because let's be honest, he's got some big stars and some big personalities on that team. Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, you got Nylander. I mean, you got Riley on the back end. Like, how is he going to play to their strengths?
My own belief on players' coaches is when players can get what they need individually and collectively they can win as a team, that's a player's coach.
Right.
You know, Steve Shutt, the Hall of Famer, longtime Montreal Canadian, always joked. He goes, on 364 days, we didn't really like Scotty Bowman, and on the 365th day, we collected our Stanley Cup ring.
Right.
Okay. So, I mean, you can love your coach, and if you're not getting results and you don't think that guy or that person can do it, it doesn't matter. Do I think that Sheldon can get his message across and relate to the players and understand their needs? Absolutely, I do think he can do that.
Yeah, and I was going to say, look, you ask players, coach, whatnot. What it strikes me about Sheldon Keefe and the research I've done is he's a guy that listens. He wants to understand where you're coming from, and he wants you to be part of the process. And so certainly he's a guy that's not going to walk in there and say, oh, just because I haven't coached at the NHL level before, I don't have confidence. I don't think that's going to be an issue at all. He's not going to be afraid of the market. He's not going to be afraid of the fact that, as I said, doesn't have experience. He's going to bring what he knows he does well and bring that to the table, and then he's going to learn, and he's going to learn from the players. Then that's such a big part of it, too. You look at a guy like John Tavares. He's been through this multiple times before in his career. This is the 4th coaching change that John Tavares has had in his career. He's going to be an incredible asset for a guy like Sheldon Keefe to be a sounding board, to figure out how things work. And so that's a relationship that's going to go hand in hand, rather than coach dictating to player. And I think that's just, one change that we're going to see with this team. Mike Babcock, love him, hate him, whatever you think of him as a player, he's a guy that's produced results in the National Hockey League. He's a guy that's you could say a headstrong guy that certainly had a persona about him and an air about him. You're not going to have that same sense necessarily with Sheldon Keefe.
Well, and Tessa, back to your comment about a player's coach and about doing what the coach asks. I mean, as a player, you're going to do what the coach asks, right? But you want to have some understanding of, okay, why are you struggling? What can we do to help you be better, right? And I think whether you're 25 years old or you're 40 years old, like Sheldon, or you're 65 years old, you know what? It's not about age; it's about understanding,
right?
And that's what you need.
Well, and I think you mentioned it earlier how he likes to accentuate players' strengths and whatnot. A coach can ask a player to do something, and it's fine. But when it takes away from who they are as a player, I find is where that line kind of gets drawn. I've played for coaches that have absolutely stripped my offensive ability away from me and made me a defensive defenseman. And quite frankly, when I first started playing defense, I could barely spell it. So
spell it.
Just being honest.
I don't think you'd ever heard the word, from what I understand.
Got to take a chance to get a chance. That's how I played.
You call me senior scout. There's a lot of miles on that senior scout roadmap.
I can't fool you. In case you're just tuning in, we are waiting on Sheldon Keefe to take the stand and address the media for the very first time as he was named the 31st head coach in Maple Leafs franchise history. Now, we've all seen coaches changes happen in certain times of year. Obviously, this has happened in a time where the Leafs can still salvage their season. I think the St. Louis Blues completely ruined that just because the way they salvage their season in New Year. Nonetheless, there's still a lot of time to really turn things around and change what this team does. But I feel with the coaching change, a new breath of fresh air usually comes in the locker room and a new energy takes over the team. So we wait no more, everyone. We see Kyle Dubas and Sheldon Keefe taking the stand. We will get you inside right now.
Well, thanks for waiting and thanks for coming, everybody. At this time, we'd like to formally introduce Sheldon Keefe as the 31st head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Obviously, Sheldon and I have a long history of working together, and it's a very exciting moment for me and for our organization. And we're looking forward to getting back to work and getting rolling here tonight in Arizona.
Thanks, Kyle. First, I'll just say a few things. Very honored, of course, and privileged to be here. To have a chance to coach the Toronto Maple Leafs is something you don't really think about as reality, but I recognize the responsibility and the privilege, and I'm thrilled to have a chance to work with this group and be a part of it. I want to thank the ownership, Larry Tannenbaum, and MLSC board, Brendan Shanahan for his confidence, of course, Kyle, and really excited to be here. It's been a bit of a whirlwind to get to this point over the last little while, but to get on the ice with the guys this morning and have a meeting and get a chance to work with them was pretty exciting, and it just kind of felt more like regular routine and coaching, and that was great. And then we're going to get right into it today with the game, so I'm very excited. Of course, I'll take questions and ready to go.
Congratulations, Sheldon, new to the team, but not new to Kyle, not new to the organization. How important is that fact as you ease into transition to such a big job here?
Well, it really is a big help for me, in particular in these circumstances, coming in midstream in the middle of the season, or in the early going of the season, I guess I should say. But knowing the faces, not just the staff, working with them through training camp, but even the players. I've had a lot of interactions with the players. Those that have been here, I've coached a lot of them with the Marlies, of course, and through training camp, getting to know guys a little bit. So just some familiarity that was just a lot easier for me coming into the room today and being around the guys and talking with them. And as I said, it really, I wasn't sure how it was going to feel and how it was going to be, but it really just felt like coaching, and it just was nice. It was I had great support from the staff, both the coaches and training equipment staff, to just have things rolling when we arrived, and by the time the players got in the building, it just felt like another day.
Sheldon, what do you think will be the biggest challenges for you jumping in midstream and trying to get this looking how you want it to work?
Well, I think the first thing is trying to educate myself on exactly what's been happening. Of course, from a distance, you make your own sort of judgments on things, but really getting to know the players and getting their thoughts, and working with the coaching staff in terms of what have they identified as the issues and what has been done to this point to try to rectify them and try to get the team going. So that's part of it, just to get up to speed, make sure that we're not going down the wrong road or going down a road that's already been exhausted and those types of things, but really having new ideas and bringing fresh things that are going to help the team. That's part of it. And then, of course, just the relationships, building the relationships on the fly and dealing with the different decisions that you have to make and how that impacts different people. That I would say is my challenge. And then, of course, just getting to know the league and the opponents and all those types of things. And fortunately, we have great staff here that has done an unbelievable job just to keep things rolling and prepare just for tonight's game.
Sheldon, this morning you spoke time to do a fair amount of changes for tonight's game, maybe just the immediate future. What tweaks do you want to make, what changes do you want to make this morning?
Yeah, that was a challenge, of course, just a morning skate. Usually you want to come in, you want it to be crisp, you want the puck flying around, you want the guys leaving feeling good, but different circumstances, we felt we needed to touch on a few things today that we wanted to do, so slowed things down a lot more, and did a little more teaching than you normally would like to do in a setting like this, and it's a lot of new drills and new patterns for the players to learn, and that's not ideal on a game day, but felt it was necessary, so we asked the players for their patience and understanding in that, and they were great with it. In terms of the changes, we of course want to make sure that we can do a better job if we get it right on the ice in the games, of course, but the feedback was good. And then we feel like with some of the offensive people that we have and what we're able to do, that will make us a better defensive team because we'll have the puck a lot more, and we'll put the other team in tough spots that will limit their ability to transition and play against us and with their speed and all those things. So we have a lot of work to do, a lot of things to build on that.
Sheldon, I guess you've already answered this, but when this is all done, and by that I mean your input on the team, what kind of team do you expect to have? And considering that you're just so quite a bit here, but what the Sheldon Keefe Maple Leafs team is going to look like when you think everything's rolling the way you want it to?
Yeah. Well, what I would say I would like the team to look like is a team that when we have the puck, we're going to capitalize on and we're going to take advantage of it. Want to utilize the skill that we have. The team was built in a manner that can capitalize, but also we recognize, of course, that when we don't have the puck, we're going to be looking to get it back in a very structured and competitive manner that's going to have a lot of pressure and force turnovers and give us a chance then to transition and utilize the skills that we're talking about. And then really all of that will have to be on a foundation of competitiveness and work ethic and discipline and structure. I mean, if we don't have those things in place, then everything else is going to kind of fall apart at the seams. So we'll work on the foundation and continue to build on it. And I think a lot of those things are in place. I looked at the way the team played the other night in Vegas, and that was a very competitive, structured team that worked and played with a purpose. We want to utilize those types of samples for what the team's capable of as the foundation and just build out from there.
Kyle, what do you think stylistically will be the biggest change under Sheldon?
Well, I think in working with Sheldon in the past and knowing what our relationship is and what we expect of each other and what he expects of me in terms of the types of players and then my expectation back, it's always been very, very clear. I think the stamp that we'll want on the team is that, yes, we want it to be very fast. We want the team to have a lot of talent. We want the team to be very creative when we're on offense and the players to feel free when they're on offense. But we also want to have that build on each and every possession that we have. So we're coming at teams, we hope in time, wave after wave with the puck. And the minute that we don't have the puck, we're right away tenacious and fast, not allowing them to really even get into our zone. I know that it's not possible in a game, especially in the NHL where the teams are so good, but that's really what we want to be known for, is that we're in the offensive zone creating as many offensive chances as we can. Then our expectation of the players would be that the minute that the other team gets the puck, we're pressuring them and pressing them right away to get it back as soon as we possibly can. So I know it's not the rough and tumble way of doing it, but I think that in itself brings its own toughness, and that our hope is that by the end of the game the other team has we've sort of broken their will a little bit, and that'll take some time to get there, but I think that's what we're aiming to do.
Sheldon, you talked about needing to renew the spirit of the team. What have you seen that makes you come to that?
Well, I think anytime a team goes through the tough stretch like it has, you just know when wins are hard to come by, that the vibe of the team is going to be tough. I haven't necessarily witnessed, haven't been around long enough to witness it. The vibe of the team, I thought, frankly, was good and healthy today. Not beaten. The conversations were really good. Just coaching for as long as I have in my time, when you're going through a tough stretch, it takes its toll on you. So that's more what I'm referring to. So we want to look to change that, and the results won't necessarily be the focus, but we want to get a positive result, of course, through a good process and making sure that we're starting off right. And if we can get the players in a group or in a situation where they're feeling confident and they're thriving, and that's going to really help all the other pieces come together.
Yeah, I understand process, but results not being a focus in a results-based business can be problematic. What's a reasonable expectation for results?
Well, the reasonable expectations for me would be that we have good players here. We have a good team. I think my message to the players today is that I'm not focused on what this team isn't. I'm focused on what this team is. And we've got really good people here. We've got a lot of talent, and we have the ability to make life hard on the other team in a lot of ways. So focusing on that, we believe will come with.
And these are some of the questions that you need to ask. First, you have to hear from the whistleblower. Now, they can choose to do that in closed session if they want to. I leave that up to them. But you can't initiate an impeachment of the President of the United States and not have to answer some questions. Who did he get his information from? Did he have the classification and the clearances to get that information? What's his relationship with Vice President Biden? Who has he shared that information with, including some members of the committee here? I think our own chairman needs to be called. What interactions did he or his staff have with the whistleblower? Did they help to coordinate or in any way facilitate the complaint? Did they coordinate and facilitate him counsel? What about Hunter Biden? How did he get his job? What did he do to earn his salary? And here's the key to this. Look, if he goes there and makes money, knock yourself out. I don't care. But I want to know, did he have officials or conversations with government officials, and was government policy changed at a particularly high level because of some of those? Devin Archer, former board member from Burisma. Alexandria Chalupa, former DNC official who admitted she provided anti-Trump information to the DNC and to Hillary Clinton. Nellie Orr from Fusion GPS, who helped to create the ridiculous Steele dossier. I'd like to remind us what I said yesterday. The American people expect a lot in politics. They understand the tussle, the fight, the debate, but they also expect basic fairness. And these proceedings have been anything but fair. The Senate has an opportunity to fix that. I am confident they will, and I look forward to them completing the job that we could have done here. And with that, I will yield back.
Mr. Quigley. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you both for being here. Dr. Hill, when we last left July 10th, I believe
Hi. Oh my God, I love the cake.
Kayla did not want to face me because Kayla knew what she had done.
What you got? I can only imagine what is under this coat.
Oh my God.
See, Melly, hurry up. Oh my God.
And I already knew, that's why I bought all kind of boy stuff.
She's standing right next to me, and it's clear she's paying me no mind. She's making no effort to make things right. Let her be the childish one. It's not my problem.
So have you made eye contact with Nettie yet, Kayla?
Not really.
Maybe you should.
I feel it.
She's doing.
I feel the heat.
Maybe you should go up there. Let's go tell her, hey.
This shower is going to be really awkward if Nettie and I do not clear the air fast. Nettie, come here. Coming up. Oh my God, he actually come.
I'm going to feel like I'm in a psychiatrical ward.
Hold your head up in there.
Dive in and dissect out the eyeball.
And was exactly and precisely what Ambassador Bolton had asked me to.
In the course of those two meetings, what was Mr. Eisenberg's response?
Mr. Eisenberg took it all very seriously. He said, for example, that Colonel Vindman should feel free. He said this to me.
About the middle of next week.
Yeah, that's the countdown, hey?
To start doing that. Yeah, you'll see a noticeable change in the forecast as we head into the middle to the end of next week. As we look at the thermal cast today, you can see this broad upper ridge of the jet stream, and that's allowing warm air to filter into the southern territories, but still dealing with a slight trough across the northern side of the prairies, and then somewhere in between as we look into southern Ontario and the Maritimes, and that trend will be flipped as we head into next week. We'll be dealing with the upper trough where it looks like a nice ridge will move towards the eastern side of the country, and what that will allow is a lot of cold Arctic air to filter back into our area, going from daytime highs this weekend possibly in the plus 10 range in central Alberta to going to around minus 10 for daytime highs in a few short days. Anywhere from 5 to 10 for temperatures across the southern side of British Columbia. The eastern prairies, big change from Saskatoon at +3 to nearly 10 to 11 degrees colder in the Winnipeg area this afternoon. -8 for the high there, closer to -17 for the high in Churchill. Temperatures around -2 for the forecast high in Thunder Bay, 4 for Sault Ste. Marie, 6 in Toronto, 3 for Ottawa, 3 in Montreal, and 3 to 4 is expected through the Maritimes. 25 for the high in Orlando, 17 for Charlotte, Nashville, cloud cover in 18 degrees, 26 with cloud cover in New Orleans, Little Rock at 16, New York at 12, 9 in Boston, and 2 for the high in Minneapolis with a few periods of sunshine. Cool temperatures for Arizona, 17 in Phoenix, 19 in Yuma, 16 in Tucson, 19 in Palm Springs, and for Los Angeles, 18 in San Jose, anywhere from 8 to 12 for Seattle and Portland.
Thanks, Jesse. In a break with tradition, the International Olympic Committee has approved some new events for next year's Games in Tokyo, and that includes breakdancing. We'll get reaction from Edmonton's dance community and talk about some of the other new sports making their debut in 2020.
Every year, thousands of women and children enter Alberta shelters
to escape domestic violence.
Join Global News for our city's Give Me Shelter campaign.
Make your actions matter by donating gift cards, toiletries, and unwrapped presents.
And drop them off at any Royal Pizza or Shipper's Supply location.
Or right here at our studio.
Help us make sure
no one is forgotten this holiday season.
This global program is brought to you by Living Sustainably St. Albert,